Alex Steffan, so I've known Alex for many years. He's been sponsoring for a long time. We've done some really good stuff online together, so if you have a look around, you might see some of the webinars I've done with Alex. It's always really popular. He's got some awesome content. He's going to share a little snippet of it tonight that's really relevant, but he's got a bunch of other stuff in the back end as well, so well worth tapping into his website, what he offers there, lots of great courses and things. And he's a great presenter, and he's a bit of a DJ as well, so he's got it all. Let's get him out of here. Please welcome Alex Steffan. Come on down, mate.
Thank you very much. How's everyone doing? If anyone's here from my emails, I'm sorry about getting the wrong date on that, but you made it. If someone rocks up tomorrow night on State of Origin night, I don't want them as a client anyway. Yes. Disclaimer, please don't hear something that I say and then go spend $1 million on something and then try to sue me. Email us, call if you must. Only call if for some reason you don't know how to use email, because there's only a small number of people in our office, and if we get 400 calls a day, it's near impossible to get back to you. Also, there's more stuff. Don't worry, I'll be selling you stuff all night. So that's me, Alex Steffan. I am a town planner. I have a qualification. You don't need a qualification to be a town planner, but I have one just in case. It's funny, you can imagine me, I was a great university student, but now I'm actually on the board of that same degree, so I get to shape the degree for the future planners. So I have a Bachelor of Urban and Environmental Planning. I'm the director at Steffan Harries. Steffan Harries has two directors, myself, Alex Steffan, and Mike Harries, who you just saw before. I also have a business called Property Ease, which tells you the development potential of a property with the click of a button. So I was in that first generation of young innovators trying to make planning easier, and then all the rich people got involved. I also have a business called URPEC, which is the Urban and Regional Planning Education Centre. So if you don't use me as your town planner, chances are you're using someone who's probably trained by me. So why not just use us? We're in Stones Corner. There's probably 8 of us. We started in 2008, and we do development assessment. So if you want me to plan your town, I'm not your guy, but if you need me to get approval for something in the town, I'm your guy. Here's a little bit about myself. I ride bikes. My wife says I try to kill myself on bikes, but I like bike packing. Does anyone know what bike packing is? It's a couple people. Anyway, I pack my bike full of stuff, kind of like backpacking, but with a bicycle, and I just go to foreign countries and ride around. So that's me in Taiwan earlier last year. Yeah, last year. It was pretty horrible. There were some nice things about Taiwan, some horrible things about Taiwan. There was earthquakes and smog, and that's me in South Korea, Japan. I feel like I've ridden almost the entire of New Zealand. I'm happily married. That's my beautiful wife, Ali, and my 2 daughters, Billy and Stevie. So that's a bit about me, so you know I'm a real life human being. I also do projects of my own, so I don't only get your approvals, I also feel the pain of when I send you an invoice and you have to pay it. I'm like, I've been in your situation and I get it. If anything, being a developer myself, or doing developments myself, I'm like, why is this person arguing with me over $200? I just paid a $20,000 interest payment for this month alone. Why? Anyway, so this is a simple project, just where I live now. It's just I subdivided my house off a body corporate. Wouldn't recommend. Very lucrative, great return, terrible process. I put this up there thinking people are going to think I did all of these units. But no, I actually just did the minor change to extend upon the existing floor area. But that small change added $200,000 of value. So changed my unit from a studio apartment into a 1-bedroom unit, 200 grand. And this is a project that I'm doing at the moment, which is a 16-lot subdivision. So this is my first personal step into financing and doing all of that associated with the development. So I've learned a lot. I've learned things like, which you will not have with other plans, like if this lot drops below 12.4 meters wide down to 11, the value of it drops by 50 grand, even if the lot size stays the same. So small little things like that I've become attuned to. So what am I doing tonight? I'm giving you a bit of an insight into what's going on in my world, which is going to be very impactful for everyone. A small, very quick budget on what you need to budget for a subdivision application, things that cause delays in applications, and simple tips to save you time, cost, and most importantly, frustration, which is I feel like one that gets skipped a lot. When it's like, oh, can I save $200? Yeah, but you're going to be like pissed off for the next week, so just pay the $200. So what's going on? There is a lot going on in my job. Every single thing that happens in my world vastly impacts on your world. You just don't know it yet because it won't affect you for another 10 years. So here's some Queensland government things that are happening. So 3 years ago, the state government made exemptions under the planning regulation to allow you to build a 5-bedroom rooming accommodation or boarding house and dwelling houses without approval. And that included a rentable granny flat. So they put that in there. That meant that local government could not make it accessible. There's a lot of intricacies involved with that, which I won't go into, but that's set to expire at the end of this year. So if you're doing a development right now, thinking, I'm going to do 2 rooming accommodation, or I'm going to do a house and an auxiliary unit or a granny flat, and that's how you're going to make money, and you're lodging your application now, if you don't have those building approvals by December, there's potential that you can't do it. So you need to be knowing that that's going to end in December. We do speak to these people who write these policies, and I think it would be political suicide for them not to renew that, but who knows? Honestly, who knows? The state government's changing the planning laws to actually deliver Olympic facilities. It's like the system that they created themselves is not fit for purpose for them to actually deliver their own events, which is hilarious. So they're changing the law to make themselves exempt from their own requirements. This is a big one. Has anyone heard of state facilitated development? A couple. So this was massive. So basically the state government said, if you're delivering affordable housing, you can apply to the state government directly, and we're going to push council aside and completely ignore what their requirements are. So that was awesome, because things were happening where completely logical development that council just go, oh, well, no, the code says this, so we're not going to let you do it. So they would let you do it, but it's all being canned now. Essentially, the government changed. They aligned with Brisbane City Council, who are the biggest players, and they just went, how about we just stop giving the state government power, and we just all give it back to Brisbane. So that's canned, which is devastating, because we had a lot in the pipeline there, which now we're going to have to fight it out with local government over. And probably the biggest one, there was a $2 billion fund launched to deliver infrastructure for development. So anyone can apply to that, where you need trunk infrastructure, which is kind of main infrastructure like sewer and water, to deliver your development. So we're seeing a lot of that happening out kind of Park Ridge Way, Bridgeman Downs. I'm assuming a lot of this is happening out at Caboolture West. So basically, if you've got a development that you're like, I'd love to do this, but the sewer's 2 kilometres away, and it's going to cost way too much to deliver, you can apply and the state government will fund it. So definitely something that you need to apply to. I think the first tranche of that funding is closing up pretty soon, but there's another one starting soon after it. Local council. The Lord Mayor just last week is revisiting the low-medium density residential zone provisions. So that doesn't cover a lot of Brisbane, but they've certainly made it very difficult to develop in that area over the last 5 years. So they're looking at revisiting it, which you would assume means it's going to get easier to do development in the LMR zone. Interestingly, one of the main things that they were talking about revisiting was car parking, which the reason that that is a problem is because of the same government causing that problem 5 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, when they changed the parking provisions. So, I always like to mention that because we do not want to praise someone for solving a problem that they created to begin with. BCC's changed the parking provisions in the centre frame precinct. So they've expanded the centre frame precinct, which is the area directly around the CBD. It used to just kind of be really captured into that CBD area, whereas now it kind of extends out, I think almost to Dutton Park, Highgate Hill, out towards Toowong. So that means that you basically so there's like maximum parking ratios versus minimum parking ratios. So you can get a lot more development yield in that centre frame precinct. I'm going to run through these ones very fast. Logan launched its new planning scheme. I feel like I launched the new planning scheme for them because I think they didn't realise that they made it public, and I just happened to find it. And I posted about it on LinkedIn, and then I had 20 people from Logan City Council look at my LinkedIn profile, and like 3 days later, Logan City Council announced that they've launched an early version of their planning scheme for public review before it goes to the state government, like it was like this thing that they meant to do, but I don't know, maybe they meant to do it. So that's fully available now. So if you're looking at sites in Logan, you need to be looking at that. Just Google Logan Plan 2025. They've also amended their flood temporary local planning instrument. That's a disaster. So if you're affected by flooding in Logan, be very cautious because you may just not be able to do anything. Logan, I feel like I'm just bagging out Logan, that wasn't the intention. Logan also have changed the infrastructure charges schedule or resolution that if you're outside of priority infrastructure area, they can charge you more contributions than the state government adopted charge. So instead of paying 34 grand for an allotment or a house, they could charge you whatever they want on whatever they calculate, which honestly could be anything. Ipswich are going to adopt their planning scheme 1st of July. I don't know if that's formally been announced, but they've certainly been telling everyone. So if you've got a site in Ipswich, almost the entire of Ipswich is being downzoned. So if you want to subdivide in Ipswich, you need to apply right now. So we're lodging a lot of applications just with marked up site plans with a line down the middle just to get it in the system before the planning scheme changes. And Sunshine Coast received some round one feedback from the state government on their new planning scheme too. So that's also publicly available, but will probably change a little bit. What isn't being announced? So this is, all that previous stuff was stuff that you can go online and Google and you'll find all that information out. Obviously we provide it in a more compacted approach, but what isn't being said is kind of what's more important for us because this is where the opportunity lies. So BCC has become quite pro-development in a way that I have not seen for 10 or 15 years, where in areas where they were very, very anti-development, they're now going, oh, well, you know, maybe, yeah. So the biggest example I have is doing development in character residential zones. So character residential zones are old pre-war suburbs around the centre of Brisbane, notoriously zoned for not be able to develop it, whereas we're now seeing that they actually are saying yes to high density in those areas where it's pretty much directly conflicts with the overall outcome of the zone code. So there's some opportunity there for sure, but it needs to make sense. If you're like, middle of Camp Hill, I'm going to build a 5-story, medium density development. Everywhere else is, pre-war cottages. It's like, it's not going to happen. But if it makes sense, then we find that we can get approval for it. Councils are all short-staffed across the board. Timeframes are being extended in almost every council region. So when we say, the information request period is 20 business days, it's almost 40 business days now in almost every council. Obviously, it depends on what kind of development you're doing. If it's just like a carport, you'll be fine. But if you're trying to do a development, then chances are council will send us an email going, hey, engineers being tied up, ecologists don't have time, can we get another week or two? So just be cautious of that. This is a massive one that I've just started a bit of a campaign on. Rooming accommodation infrastructure charges are being negotiated for every single development, and it's changing every single time we get a charges notice. The reason why I'm bringing that up is, has anyone ever seen those like 5-bedroom rooming accom developments, or boarding houses, rooming houses, I think people call them? So they have notoriously, since 2014, when you could start doing those, 0 infrastructure charges. We got a notice the other day from Urban Utilities charging a per bedroom rate of $15,000 per bedroom. So be very cautious. We're arguing that, obviously, that's our job, but there's honestly, we probably deal with the most number of these applications of any firm in Brisbane, and I could not give you a straight answer on what even just Brisbane are doing, let alone the other councils. So just be cautious around that. And council engineers, I don't think Dave's here, so this is great. The engineer and sponsor is not here. So council engineers are seemingly have a competition as to who can find the most problems. And I'm not joking. It's like, let's leave it with the engineers for like 6 months so they can just pick apart every single decimal and dot point that, as a planner, doesn't matter. And they will just list out every single problem that they can find. And I feel like it's a bit of a competition, like, well, yeah, I found like 8 issues this week. So that's a massive problem, and it's just dragging everything out. So I say strap in and embrace it. What does all that mean? So each of these things that I've listed is something that you need to be aware of if you're getting into property development. It not only creates a new opportunity where you're like, oh, there's a new upcoming amendment to the scheme, there's incentives for development for infill areas where you can apply to a fund. So for other people who are like, that doesn't make sense, there's no sewer there, you can go, oh, well, it does make sense because we'll apply to this fund and maybe get $2 million of funding from the state government to deliver the sewer. So there's a lot of potential there, but also there are potential risks to your upcoming project. So if you're relying on doing a Rumia-Com at the end of the year for a site, that you may not be able to do that. And on top of that, if you can do it, you may end up paying $200,000 in infrastructure charges, which I'm not an accountant, but I would assume would be very detrimental to the project. So how can you keep in the loop? That's a lot of information. As this stuff happens, we have a members portal. It's $12.50 a week, $50 a month. And we announce this stuff every single week to our members, including 5 development sites that we find. So if you're wanting to know, that's the link, become a member. I'm going to run out of time so quickly here. Budgeting for an ROL, reconfiguring of a lot application. This is pretty much it. Obviously, this is our firm's costs. The council fees are set. Our fees, this is pretty much what our fee is going to be, whether it's for 2 lots or 5 lots. If it gets above 5 lots, then you start triggering stormwater quality and other requirements, which takes a lot more time. And I know I'm quoting other people's fees here, but surveyors are generally around $3,000 for something like that. Engineers are generally around $3,000 for like a concept services and earthworks plan. Infrastructure charges. So the infrastructure charge schedule will say it's $31,000. They just haven't updated it for like 6 years, and obviously inflation, and they change it over time. So it's about $34,000. Not payable until, apparently. Not payable until you actually get to your plan ceiling. That's also something that's changing a little bit. Your timeframes. For a code accessible, straightforward subdivision application, you're talking about 1 to 3 months. That timeframe can vary hugely, also depending on where it is and whose desk it lands on. And I'll allow 1 to 2 months of lead time for us to actually get quotes from surveyors, get quotes from engineers, engage a surveyor. Engineer can't do anything until the surveyor's done, so it all kind of has to line up with itself. But I'd go like 1 to 2 months, 1 to 3 months. Once it's lodged, you should have a decision from council. Generally speaking, we won't let you get anywhere this far unless we thought that unless we're fairly confident that you're going to get the approval. What else? What are the hidden charges? Of course, we will charge you out of scope. So every application we lodge should be, in my opinion, should be able to be approved immediately, unless obviously we're doing something a bit sketchy. But it should be able to be approved. But who knows? We lodge it to council, and there'll be some engineer trying to impress his friends. So when something like that comes back out of council and they go, oh, well, you need to show us how this works, then we'll charge you out of scope. Generally, that might be 2 to 4 hours. And there'll also be extra charges if you need amendments to engineering plans or whatever. For larger developments, the costs just like exponentially increase. Not so much from our point of view. Like a 30-lot subdivision might be like 10, 15 grand. But yeah, engineering costs for a 10 to 15-lot subdivision won't be $3,000. It'll be like 20, 30 grand. So depending on the scale of development and what you need in that development, the cost can go from being like a $12,000 to $15,000 application for a 1 to 3 lot subdivision to $50,000 to $100,000 for like a 20 to 50 lot subdivision. So it's very hard to predict what those costs are going to be. It depends on market demand, all of those normal economic things. So what do you think it would cost to do a 1 to 2 lot subdivision from start to finish? 120? 100? 180? All right, I think we're not all too bad. So we have a subdivision cost guideline, and this is where it's at. So the days of doing a subdivision for like, the days of doing a subdivision for like 80 grand are, I think, completely gone. And we see them, this is a 1 or 2 lot subdivision, we see them go well and truly above 300 grand. Not regularly, but on the anomaly, we see them go above that. It just depends on the circumstances, the issue, what kind of rocks you have, how much asbestos you have, where the pipes are. So that's generally what we see. This is an extract from our, I was like, I feel like I would have been upselling people here. That's an extract from our subdivision cost guideline, or subdivision guideline, and we fully break down those costs. So we have a lot of people who just made Excel spreadsheets with like the lower and upper end of those costs, and then just depending on the site, they go, well, there's no earthworks needed here, so that'll be on the lower end. Sewers right out the front, that'll be on the lower end. So you can kind of do your feasibilities pretty quickly, and obviously we have other key issues to look out for, timelines, Gantt charts, all that stuff. So download our subdivision guideline. It'll definitely help you refine your feasibilities. I'll leave that there for one more second. Yep. So what causes delays in development applications? Engineers. That's all. I wish I was joking. No, I am joking. Of course, engineers just make sure that they're all really good. So yes, engineering is definitely one of the biggest delays that we receive, not just from the private sector, but certainly from the public sector too. Just, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I ask the question to them sometimes, like, was the flooding, like you say the flood model 10 years ago was horrible and it was so wrong, and now this is the flood model that's like the one that's the good one. I've been around for 20 years and I was there 10 years ago and you guys were like, this is the wrong one, this is the right one. So like, now that we're in the right one, in 10 years time, is this gonna be the wrong one? And they're like, no, this is the one. The modeling's way better. I'm like, man, yes, I don't know. We get a lot of like, my grandma's been living here for 80 years, it's never flooded. And it's like, oh, I know, but it flooded over there and that's not even mapped, so who knows. But honestly, luck of the draw. And I think Nathan, who's speaking tonight, I hope he tells you about, we've lodged 2 applications with him recently. One of them got approved, I think in 3 days, and the other one we're still negotiating and was lodged before that one. Very similar applications. So it sometimes is luck of the draw. We don't know what goes on. It just goes into the council system, lands on some proactive person's desk, and it comes out straight away. Consultant timeframes is a killer. Like if we have to send off something to, so we'll get information press. We brief the civil engineer. They take 2 or 3 weeks to look at what we ask them. Then we engage them, sign off on the fees. Then it takes another 2 or 3 weeks for them to amend the plan. So that's 5 weeks now gone. Now that they've finished their job, we need to now brief the ecologist to see what additional impacts the civil engineers stuff. So now we go through that same process with the ecologist, and if any of these people drop the ball whatsoever by like a couple of weeks, then our really fast turnaround just turned into like 3 or 4 months, and there's just seemingly nothing you can do about it. I've been doing this for so long, and I've tried many a system to try to streamline that, but sometimes it just is what it is, and you just have to strap in and just roll with it. Understaffing of council officers and departments, as I said earlier. Councils are understaffed, and there's just nothing you can do about that. They'll ask for extensions. If you don't give it to them, then they'll either just issue you something stupid that takes even more time than it would have to just give them the extension. And complex projects take time. So, and it's just purely due to the number of stakeholders. So if you're just doing if you're doing a carport extension to your house in suburbia, not in a character area, it's going to be looked at by 1 or 2 people at council. So that's going to be pretty fast. If you're doing a subdivision where it's got some environmental overlays, there's a street tree, there's some engineering involved, and there's flooding at the back, and there's a heritage site next door, then all of a sudden, instead of having 2 people look at it at council, we've got like 18 people at council looking at it. So it just takes a bit more time, the more issues that you have, because there's just naturally more people that you need to herd together to make a decision. My simple tips to save you time, cost, and frustration. Like I said earlier, the frustration is to me, and I don't know if like I'm getting old or something, but like these things, especially this one, like whatever, I will spend any amount of money to not have to be like thinking about something when I go to bed. Especially when it's like, if I'm doing a development and it's, like I said, $20,000 interest, or $1,000 interest a day, and I don't need to argue with someone over a $500 bill. It's like, if anything, can I pay your bill fast? Can I pay more to solve this problem faster, so I don't have to be thinking about the interest that it's costing me? So this is my list. Make fast, obviously, but informed decisions. If I send you an email, if a planner sends you an email and go, hey, look, this is the problem that we have, here's 3 solutions, here's the pros and cons of each, which is that's what we do. If you don't get back to us for like 2 weeks, that's gone now. Like we're on to like 18 other developments that we're now thinking about. So now for me to get back to you, I'm gonna have to spend more time thinking about it. So I'll have to put you aside so I can have another hour to get back across the project, then I need to brief other people. So the faster you get back to us, the faster you get back to the consultants, the quicker your project's gonna go. Obviously, pay people on time. We're not gonna do anything until we get paid. We've been burned way too many times from people saying, oh, look, if you can just get started, the money's coming in next week and we'll pay you. And then we get started and then we're like ready to go and they're like, oh, the money's gonna be next week. Can you just lodge it? We'll just lodge it and then we'll just pay you next week. And then they don't ever pay us. So we've done that too many times. So just pay people on time, tell them that you've paid them. People like money, surprisingly. Again, try not to delay your correspondence, keep the ball rolling at all times. So obviously that doesn't always work. If you've got something you need to discuss, then it's going to take a bit more time. But if it's something that requires like a yes or no answer, my advice would be just give it the yes or no answer immediately to keep that ball rolling. Because as soon as it stops, it's very hard to get it rolling again. And that's just human nature, unfortunately. Look at the end goal and not the day-to-day costs. I know that I keep talking about like simple $200 fees, but the amount of projects that we've delayed for like 6 months because of like a $400 fee, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, the holding cost must be like double that a week. Like what is going on? Like why are they arguing with us over the ecologists who had to clearly do double the amount of work because they changed the entire plan and they had needed $800? Why are we negotiating this and arguing about it for weeks when the end goal, you're probably going to make $2 million? So like just look at the end goal, focus on that end number, and the day-to-day things will become much easier and your project will be much faster and you'll be less frustrated, 100%. Trust your consultants, obviously within reason. If you've got a dodgy town planner, not me obviously, but maybe Mike, no. But trust your consultant because this is all we do. So please, for the love of me, do not ask me a question about every single possible thing that I send you because it takes so long to respond and it's so painful. And sometimes in planning, there's just not an explanation. It just is what it is. It's like there's a gray area. I had to talk to someone this afternoon about, I used the word conclude twice in my letter of advice about what council's opinion was. He said, you're just concluding what they think. You haven't told me what they think. I'm like, well, they didn't say anything. They just said a whole lot of things and we've concluded off what they've said, what the outcome is. And it's probably been 5 emails, 2 phone calls, and there's probably going to be another couple tomorrow just about me writing the word conclude twice. So really, that person should have gone, this letter says that I can do exactly what I want. I'm going to go do exactly what I want. Not, this letter says I can go do exactly what I want. I'm going to ask this guy 1,000 questions about it. Just trust me, get on with it. Please email me, don't call. Like I said earlier, we get a lot of phone calls and it's near impossible to get back to all of them. Whereas emails, if I'm sitting in a meeting, I don't, but I can do emails on the side whilst I'm in the meeting. And most of the time, what we talk about probably needs to be in writing. So if you call me and go, hey, thanks for that quick chat about everything, do you reckon you can just chuck this in the email? I will throw my phone off a cliff, which happens very regularly. I'm like, why does this need to be a phone call? And then at the end, they ask me to relay my whole phone call into an email. It's like, well, that probably could have just been an email to begin with. Anyway, I've really tried to pack that in there. Thank you. These are my contact details. Just ignore that one. Remove it from your memory. There's always a reason to call sometimes. Add me on LinkedIn. I'm a notorious shit stirrer, so I'm always on there saying something controversial. Controversial grounded by truth. So, and yeah, these are my 2 other websites. That's me done. Thank you.
Well done, Alex. Round of applause for Alex. Awesome, mate. You're not jaded at all, are you?
I don't know. I feel like.
Engineers, phone calls, like it's all.
Yeah. I'm really going to be like that angry old man in the
Yeah,
corner
yeah.
one day where people are like, don't talk to him. He's going to growl at you. Maybe that's a good place to be. I don't know.
No, awesome, mate. Well done. Quick questions for Alex. We're a little bit over time, but I will take one or two. If they're kind of general, don't go into heavy detail stuff, just what Alex has talked about today. Yep.
Yes, I can get you a proof now.
Oh, hi, Alex. It's Ben here. You just mentioned that state facilitated development is going or going to be gone.
Yeah.
I suppose the question is the state government is still, social housing was one of their major platforms for the election. Are they still going to be doing that in some shape or form or under a different name or a different department? Or
Yeah.
is it just, sorry, we're doing the Olympics now, see you later?
I would assume so. Probably not, well, obviously not through the state facilitated development pathway. So honestly, I'm not too sure. It doesn't affect me directly, so I'm not too sure. But I mean, canning this, so they haven't officially canned it. They've just told everyone, they haven't actually even announced it. So they've told everyone that they're no longer doing it.
Yeah.
They're no longer accepting applications and they're not progressing applications. I do wonder what all the people in the team are doing, but yeah, I mean, it's for an election promise. It must be delivered, you would assume this much, but I'm not too sure, sorry. Yeah.
Thanks, Ben. Just down the front here. We'll just bring the mic over to you.
Alex, do you want to have a stab in those character areas where you're seeing the council perhaps warming to more proposals? Do you want to have a stab at what you think they might look at as minimum lot size for the type of use you envisage they would be comfortable with? Yeah, so
Yeah.
a single dwelling, for instance.
Yeah, I think if it was in the character residential zone, which is 450 is the minimum, I'd be going for 300s, which aligns with the character infill. I don't think that's going to change in the infill precinct, but where we're getting support from a couple of applications is we're doing townhouse developments in the character infill precinct, where previously it was maximum 1 per 300, not negotiable, don't even bother. Now we were doing 4 on a 600, so that's vastly exceeding the 1 per 300, and we're about to lodge 6 over 1,500, I think it is, and I think we'll get support for that too. So I think it just depends where it is. Both those sites are in areas that used to be zoned LMR, so in Green Slopes, Camp Hill, Coorparoo area. And like I said earlier, like if it makes sense, I think right now is the time that you would probably get it approved. If it doesn't make sense, you're like, oh, 180 square metre lots in the back streets of Camp Hill, it's probably not going to happen. But if you're like, well, the whole street's townhouses, why is this site not a townhouse? Oh, it's a character zone. You'll probably get approval for townhouses is my best guess at the moment.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. One more question really quickly. Yep. All on this side tonight.
Hey Alex, in Ipswich they're moving to the 600 square metre lot, the bigger lots for subdivision. Do you see more applications going further out of Ipswich now for subdivisions?
Not yet, but I think as soon as this new planning scheme's adopted, so I don't think we actually have the final version of the planning scheme publicly available yet, but I think when it is adopted, pretty much all of those infill sites are gone, like almost all of them. So like Red Bank Plains, like all of those areas that you right now could probably do a 1-2 lot subdivision, you will not be able to do under the new scheme. So I think as soon as that happens, you either have to get a bigger site to do a larger infill development, or yeah, it's probably going to go outside of Ipswich entirely, probably go out to Somerset, Fernvale, Lowood, those kind of regions. Yeah.
Awesome, mate. We might leave it there, guys. We've got to go to a break, but big round of applause for Alex. Thanks very much, mate. Thank you, buddy.